The salmon is the base for this casserole. When you are buying salmon, there is pink salmon. There is also sockeye salmon, which is red. They just come from different kinds of fish. Sockeye salmon, though, is much more expensive than the pink salmon. They taste just the same. They are a little bit different in this respect if you're interested in salt and in fat. The sockeye salmon is fatter, but the pink salmon has more salt in it. Look at your labels and compare. Salmon that is pink, though, is much less expensive than the other. So for family use, we always use the pink salmon. Everything inside is used. So we drain the liquid from the salmon into a measuring cup, which will be part of our sauce that we're making later on. This casserole dish is done in layers. So we have a layer of salmon, a layer of eggs, a layer of peas, put a sauce over it, breadcrumbs on top. I'll set that aside for later use. My eggs are ready. I'll slice them later. But I do have to get breadcrumbs ready for the topping. This is an excellent way to use leftover crusts, leftover bread that gets a little stale. Grind it right up in breadcrumbs and put it in the freezer. It's all ready to use. In order to make the crumbs on top be a little bit brown, a little bit of melted butter or canola oil mixed in with them will just help them brown. I've got the salmon ready and the topping ready and the eggs are ready and the peas that we're going to use are in the freezer. Now we have to make a milk sauce, sometimes called a cream sauce, but it's only a cream sauce when you put in butter. For our milk, we are using our regular reconstituted skim milk powder. So this can be quite a low-fat casserole dish if we choose to make it that way. We need 3 cups of liquid for this milk sauce. We've used the juice from the salmon. Now I just go up to the 3-cup measure with milk. If you were using the canned peas that I have in your recipe, which you can instead of frozen, you would have saved the liquid of the peas that are in the can here as well, and then just fill the rest up with milk. To make a milk sauce, it's really your butter, your flour to thicken, your milk, some salt and pepper, and any other flavorings you want. It's a very basic sauce that is used in a great deal of dishes in cooking, so it's very important to learn how to do it and do it quickly and do it well. The proportions for a white sauce are 2 tablespoons of flour per cup of liquid. We'll thicken it to a medium consistency, which is what we use most of the time. We are using 3 cups of liquid, so I need 6 tablespoons of flour. 5, 6. I am not going to use the fat at all because we want to keep this low fat. Now I want to mix the flour and milk well before you put it on the stove so that you don't have lumps. Then we'll put it on to a medium-high heat. Sauces are something that you really have to stand and stir. If you leave it, the milk will coagulate along the bottom and then scorches. Or once it starts to heat, sometimes a scum will form on the top if you haven't been stirring it. Then the pressure builds up underneath and all of a sudden your milk comes up and boils over. The only way you can stop that is to stir it constantly, be there. You could, if you had a double boiler, put water in the bottom pot, put everything in the top pot, and then cook it over the boiling water, and in that way it would just cook by itself. So you can walk away from it, but it takes half an hour or more to do that. Most people, like myself, are in too big a hurry to do that, and we do it on a stove that has a heavy bottom saucepan. So turn your heat onto high, medium high, maximum is risky, until it gets started. But as soon as you see the milk starting to thicken on the spoon, we're going to reduce that temperature. When you stir around in a circle so that you're getting into that, see that shape of the pot at the bottom, and the spoon here tucks right into that corner. Then go back and forth like this so that you're covering the bottom of the pan all the time, and then stir in a figure 8 so that it doesn't produce a whirlpool and you don't spill it. We need to add our seasonings to this. Of course, salt and pepper is very basic. So half a teaspoon of salt and a quarter of a teaspoon of pepper should do. And if you like, there's a very nice spice called rosemary, which I particularly like in this casserole dish. Just very few grains. Now our sauce is thickening. You can see as it better get stirring quickly. Back and forth and around in figure 8. As you can see it thickening. I'll reduce the temperature a wee bit. Use the bottom of the spoon to make sure it isn't burning on the bottom, scorching. You can feel it with your spoon. Notice I'm using a wooden spoon all the time. All right, that's fine. We're going to turn the stove off. Take our sauce back to our casserole dish. And then we're going to layer everything together. Sauce is ready. We'll just let that cool a little bit while we start to assemble. So a layer of salmon. I mentioned earlier we can use every speck of salmon, and even that little black skin that's there, it is quite edible. You may or may not want it in your salmon. Doesn't matter though, because we're going to break it up. Break the salmon up into little chunks. There's some bones in here somewhere though. Here. Don't throw them out. This is where all the calcium is. A lot of it is. So crunch up the bones and make sure they're added back into the casserole. Save some for another layer. Now we put in a layer of eggs. And we'll slice them as we go. I like frozen peas. So we've got a whole meal in our casserole. Now we'll put a layer of sauce. And we start over again. Some salmon. Some more egg slices. Salmon and egg are very compatible flavors together. Cover it with our sauce. See how it's important in this particular recipe that you do all pre-preparations ahead of time. Now we top it with our buttered breadcrumbs. This casserole dish cannot be frozen. Eggs do not freeze well. They turn very rubbery. But it could be stored in the refrigerator for a couple of days even. One day anyway, it's best maybe, if you want to make it today and serve it tomorrow. Or it can be tucked right into the oven right now if you wish. Whichever way. If you're going to keep it, we just put some plastic wrap over it or the lid for the casserole dish on it. And today we're going to put it right in the oven. soak the pot in cold water. It's a starch with the flour and things in it. You soak starches in cold water, sugars and fats in hot water.